Setting a proper motivation, which consists of 3 parts. Those at the back can hear me clearly? Can you hear me? Okay. Setting a proper motivation, which consists of 3 parts. One is refuge field. Number 2, Bodhisattva field. Number 3, the purpose of the class, the purpose of the this practice. So for the refuge field, 2 points to keep in mind: what to visualize and how to visualize. 1, okay, just take a proper sitting, sit properly, and then do the visualization as much as possible by invoking the respective experiences. 1, both the refuge field, visualize Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, particularly the author of the text which we are studying, Venerable Benja Lobsang Chögyam. How you visualize them, number 2, how you visualize them, that makes a whole difference. How effective your mental transformation is determined by this factor, how you visualize the object of refuge. How you visualize them is, they are like your parents, and imagine you come home as a very young child, you come home from the school very much demoralized, and your children, the elder children in the school have bullied you, and you come home, your parents are waiting there to give full love, affection, attention, so forth to you. And next, Bodhicitta field. Again the same thing, what to visualize and how to visualize. 1, what to visualize? Visualize your 2 parents on the 2 sides. All the family members around you. And everyone in Bangalore around you, and everyone in India, everyone in your own countries, everyone in the entire universe. And how you visualize them. Here you are the mother and all others are like your children. Imagine they come home demoralized and you are waiting there to give full love, affection, attention, so forth, to the extent that each one of them feels themselves as so special in your eyes. And the purpose of this class, the purpose of this coming together, is to discover the ultimate treasure of happiness that exists within each one of us. Why that, if it exists within us, why not we are ultimately happy now? Instead we are overwhelmed with tremendous, we are burdened with tremendous pains, anxiety, depression, stress and so forth. Why? It is because that this ultimate treasure of happiness, that is obscured by the mental defilements. Like the gold, when mixed with the soil, in the ore, in its ore form, the gold is not visible. You only see the soil. It doesn't mean that the gold is not there. Gold is there. How do we know that the gold is there? And the experts, when they remove the soil from the gold, then slowly the gold within will start to shine, will start to glow. Likewise, as the mental defilements are separated, removed from the ultimate source of happiness, which is also referred to as the Buddha nature, the Tathagata, that exists within each one of us, irrespective of who you are, whether you're a believer, non-believer, whether you're educated, uneducated, rich, poor, girl, boys, whoever you are, we all have this potential, ultimate source of happiness within us. So that is temporarily obscured by the mental defilements. So our job of coming here is to first of all identify that these defilements are there. And each one of us, we have this ultimate source of happiness within us, and that is obscured by the mental defilements. It is through removing the defilements that we can then become like a sun, where we are never been obscured by any external factors. We forever remain brilliant and shining. Okay, so for this matter, with this in mind, the mental defilements, how to eradicate these mental defilements. For that we have to know the nature of the mental defilements. The mental defilements within us, for example, say the anger, greed, attachment, jealousy, competitiveness, ill will, and so forth. All these mental defilements, we see that there are two kinds. One, what is always on the surface, the gross ones, and the subtle one. The gross ones also known as the afflictive obscurations, and then the subtle ones known as the cognitive obscurations, and the afflictive obscurations, the gross ones, are consisted of the afflictive or the contaminated actions, 10 non-virtuous actions, 3 physical, 4 verbal, and 3 mental. So the actions, and then these actions are triggered by the mental defilements, negative emotions, like the 3 poisons, attachment, anger, jealousy, and so forth. And these in turn are rooted to the ignorance, which misrepresents the reality. Like in the dream, that we are ignorant of seeing the dream as real. So that is the one which is responsible for creating all the emotional turbulence in a dream. So it's all grounded on the belief that whatever you're dreaming is something real. So likewise, we see that all the samsaric problems, they're like the mental turbulence in the dream, so which are all triggered by the ignorance. So this ignorance and the subtle stage. This ignorance, if we eliminate, the good thing is if we eliminate this ignorance, then all the offshoots of this ignorance will ultimately come to be terminated. So to eliminate this ignorance, we need to introduce the counterforce, which is the wisdom to see reality as it is. And this wisdom, the wisdom to see the reality of the mind, this is the most powerful wisdom. Of all the wisdoms, wisdom to see reality of the mind, this is the most powerful and has the greatest effect to eliminate, to curb our the emotions, negative mental emotions. So this wisdom is like the axe to cut the poisonous tree, but the axe per se will not cut the tree. It requires a very strong, well-built, and experienced woodcutter. Likewise, there must be this wisdom must be complemented by a very forceful motivational force, which is renunciation, the desire to get rid of samsara, the desire to cut the afflictive emotions. And then on top of that, on top of the renunciation, there must be a sense of the bodhicitta. This renunciation, at the most, it can take us to nirvana, personal freedom from samsara, but not lead us to Buddhahood. So only when the renunciation is tempered by bodhicitta, the wish to become Buddha for the all sentient beings, only then, when this wisdom of emptiness tempered by these two motivations, renunciation plus bodhicitta, only then the wisdom will lead us to eradicate the subtlest of the mental defilements and take you to the manifestation of the ultimate source of happiness within us in its totality, in its full form. So that is the purpose, what we're doing here. The instruction on the nature of the mind or the Mahamudra is for that purpose. With that in mind, let's turn to page 3. And as we say these are the passages, the stanzas, be mindful that you are leading this group, and all sentient beings, including your two parents, and everyone is happily joining you, and all the Buddhists and Bodhisattvas, they are watching us with great love and affection. And you are leading this. And used by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha of Dharma, I pay homage. And used by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha of Dharma, I pay homage. And used by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha of Dharma, I pay homage. Independent origination, there is no ceasing, no arising, no annihilation, no separateness, no sameness. I prostrate to the consummate Buddha, the supreme among all teachers, the one who taught this peace, which is afraid of elaborations. I prostrate to the mothers of the Buddhas and of the hearers and Bodhisattvas, who through the knowledge of all these hearers seeking pacification to complete peace, who through the knowledge of past causes those having migrated to achieve the aims of the world, and through possession of omniscience, the subduer set forth the varieties from all aspects. Okay, the mantra. Now, first let's read the meaning of the mantra. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes as well as taught by the great seer. So let's recite the mantra together. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Deshan Tathagato Yavatat Desham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vati Mahashramanaye Swaha. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Desham Tathagato Yavatat Desham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vati Mahashramanaye Swaha. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Desham Tathagato Yavatat Desham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vati Mahashramanaye Swaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation causes as well as taught by the great seer. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. So forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Inspired, I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Okay, as we generated this mind here, we said, inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As we said this, let us quickly do very quick, not really a meditation as such, but cultivation of bodhicitta. So this is so precious. Eventually, those of us here who are already exposed to the Dharma for some time, you already know the preciousness of the bodhicitta. This bodhicitta, which is the aspiration, which thinks, may I become Buddha, may I awaken. May I become Buddha means, may I be able to awaken the seed of perfection within me, so that I can benefit all sentient beings. So this thought is so precious, so precious. In fact, today you see that there are so many Rinpoches meaning the precious ones, Why they are referred to as the precious ones? Because in the former lives, they practice this precious mind. Which precious mind? The bodhicitta. The precious mind. They practice this precious mind. And then this precious mind, because of this practice, they were able to have it in a very spontaneous and intense form in their previous lives. And because of which, then the next life when they take birth, so they automatically refer to as the precious one, because they cultivated this precious mind in the former life. So therefore they are referred to as the precious one. So anyone who cultivates this precious mind within the self, that person is known as the precious one or the Rinpoche. So each one of us, we have that capacity. we have that capacity. Let us not just wait for someone else to be Rinpoche. We ourselves should become a Rinpoche. This is so precious. In fact, one thing that I like to warn here is that those of us here who are more into this Choe swimming for several years, 2, 3, 4 years, you will know a little more. But then the newcomers, you might get a very fancy idea of Rinpoche, right? Very fancy idea of Rinpoche. So this we should be taken care of. We should really be aware of. Say Rinpoches, right? Generally speaking, it is the identification of someone, the reincarnation, meant to be someone who came from the past life, where a person was a very good practitioner in the past life. This was the basic presumption. But then sometimes the identification may not be so accurate. So this is not my business. Anyway, for us to just jump too much into this and thinking that this is the thing, then it may or may not be accurate. And because of which, there could be problems later on. So the best thing is, what is still there, the basic principle of, say, the basic principle of practice of the precious mind, bodhicitta, within us. So this precious mind, we practice it, and when it becomes this thought, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. When this thought becomes very intense and strong within you, you become Rinpoche. Why should we have to wait for someone else to be Rinpoche? If there are others who are really, ready with this mind, they are also Rinpoches. But why not we become Rinpoches? So today, because that we are together, and nowadays, one time I was here like twice a year, but nowadays mostly once a year. So because that this is just once a year, this is so auspicious for us to generate this mind. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Although this cultivation, the mindset that we cultivate here, may not be as natural. It may be, let's say, superficial. It may be superfluous. It doesn't matter. It is only through the superficiality. We begin with the superficiality, and then it becomes more and more real. For example, when we first learn English language, Hindi language, some of you may be learning Tibetan language, right? When you first learn the language, then the sentence structure, everything is just horrible, right? And we think that we are speaking nicely. And then we imitate what others are doing, how other people are saying Hindi, and my Hindi is terrible, I don't know. Right? I've been living in India for the last more than 40 years, and still my Hindi is just terrible. Okay, so sometimes I speak one sentence, and people around me, they laugh at me. They are so happy to listen to my Hindi. Right? Okay, so what I'm saying is that say, we learn through imitation. First we have to imitate, and then it becomes real. Right? Even the bodhicitta, this very precious mind, we have to begin from the imitation. First we imitate, first we can be superfluous. It doesn't matter. And then slowly it becomes real. So, because that, for it to become real at one point, the imitation, the superficial practice should precede. So whatever preceded as a precursor for that practice to become so real, all these things which were being practiced as precursor to the main experience, all they become so precious. They all become so precious. So what we've been doing today is going to be very precious, generating this Manu Bodhicitta, right? And this one day, if you're able to make sense of this, that amazing, this mind is so precious. Just the thought of this bodhicitta, it makes you go into tears. It makes you have your goosebumps in the body. And then because of this thought, any person, once like 10 years ago, you might have difficulty with your neighbor, you might have difficulty with your parents, you might have difficulty with your, say, relatives here, there, and so forth, right? And then after like 10 years of practice, 5 years of practice, 15 years of practice of bodhicitta, this thought, say, after 20 years, you may say, oh, once once, how many years ago? I think like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 20 something, 17 there. Once in Choe, we generated this. So that is the initial seed of now what I have, what I'm experiencing today, this beautiful mind of bodhicitta. So it's so precious. In fact, I remember 2013, His Holiness the Dalai Lama once, one morning, when he was in Delhi, I received a call from the secretary of His Holiness, and he said that His Holiness wants to be here. It was just early morning. It was mine, I think, the Saturday off. And then I just hurriedly got a taxi and went to His Holiness' place in the hotel. Then His Holiness gave me a lengthy instruction about the office, Tibet House office, these things. And then later on, in the end, he said one thing, that whenever Tibet House has some, say, the congregations, meetings, say, observing some celebrations, occasionally, and so forth. So there, why not you let people take part in observing their aspirational bodhisattva vow? So this is like generating this bodhicitta, bodhi vow. So this was what His Holiness told me directly, for the sake of the older people there. So now today we are doing this, and this is really the accomplishment. This is really what fulfills a part of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's aspiration for all the people, right? Okay. So with this, what we do is that, okay, we sit upright, and we will do of the four immeasurables. We will do two immeasurables. The four immeasurables: immeasurable loving kindness, immeasurable compassion, immeasurable joy, and immeasurable equanimity. Of the four, we are going to do the first two. Given that the text which we are going to cover requires, say, the lot of time, and then of course we also need a little bit of time to digest what is being said. So for that matter, we will do the first two immeasurables as a part of cultivating bodhicitta within us, which is so precious. Okay. Sit upright and reinforce the visualization of the Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in front of you. And the way, the manner in which you visualize them, they are so affectionate, so loving and caring towards you. And you are surrounded by your two kind parents, all the family members, and everyone in Bangalore, whether the human beings, whether the cats, dogs, mosquitoes, the animals, everyone is around you, and everyone from the world, everyone from Milky Way galaxy, and everyone from the entire universe. And you are leading this. And the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they are watching us with tremendous joy, tremendous love and affection. And you are leading this, and everyone is happily joining you. So with that in mind, just try to invoke the respective experiences as I'm going to give the instructions on the first two of the four immeasurables. Okay, the first immeasurable loving kindness. How good would it be that all my dear Mother Sentient beings are endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. May all my dear Mother Sentient beings be endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. I will take the responsibility that all my dear Mother Sentient beings are endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, witnessing that you are making such a courageous commitment, they're intensely proud of you, like the mother for the first time hearing her eldest daughter, eldest son, telling the mother, "Mother, please take rest. All these years you have been working so hard for us. Now I'm already grown up. I'll take care of my siblings. I'll take care of you also. Mother, please take rest. We love you so much. Imagine the mother in such a great disbelief. Today she's hearing for the first time her eldest daughter, eldest son, saying that you've done everything for us. We'll take care of you now. We'll take care of my siblings. And imagine the mother, how much feeling of joy, how much feeling of the pride she feels towards you. And tears rolling down her cheeks for the first time after all these many years of the turmoil that you went through over raising you and your siblings. This is exactly what is happening to all the Buddhists and Bodhisattvas. They feel so proud of you, so happy to hear that you're making courageous. You hear this, that you're making such a courageous mind to work for the welfare of sentient beings. The intensity of love and affection, intensity of this pride and happiness, or the Buddhist and Bodhisattva experience invokes the compassionate mind of the omniscient mind, the central nectarous, very soothing lights towards you and all the other sentient beings. The mere touch of the lights and the nectars with the body springs in yours instills in all happiness and the cause of happiness within you and all the other sentient beings. And you witnessing such a miraculous happening towards all of the other sentient beings, you're intensely happy. Take 3 deep breaths, sigh with relief. Next, immeasurable compassion. How good would it be that all my dear sentient beings are free from suffering and the causes of suffering. The causes of suffering primarily consisting of the self-grasping ignorance and self-centered attitude. May all my dear sentient beings be freed from suffering and the causes of suffering. I will take the responsibility that all my dear sentient beings are freed from suffering and the causes of suffering. The Buddhists and Bodhisattvas witnessing that you make such a courageous commitment, they are intensely happy and proud of you, and this pride and happiness invokes the compassionate omniscient minds, the central nectars and very soothing lights towards you and all dear sentient beings. The mere touch of the lights and the nectars with the body springs yours washes away all the miseries and the cause of miseries from the mind's sentient beings to yourself. And you witnessing such a miraculous happening towards all the dear sentient beings, you're intensely happy. Take 3 deep breaths, sigh with relief. Okay. So underscoring the 2 immeasurables is the unconditional love towards all dear sentient beings. Abide in this unconditional love for a while. And imagine that you are piercing through the eyes of each and every sentient being, to the extent that each one of them feels themselves as so special in your eyes. Okay, with folded hands, let us make the commitment of bodhicitta. I'll say this line of bodhicitta, and let us all say this 3 times after me. And just, even though it may be superficial, it doesn't matter, be it superficial, but this is the first step, this is the stepping stone, on the basis of which eventually we will see the dawn of the actual bodhicitta within us. Okay, I'll say this line of commitment. Let us all say this 3 times together. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all my dear mother sentient beings. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all my dear mother sentient beings. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all my dear mother sentient beings. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all my dear mother sentient beings. This is a beautiful, courageous mind of bodhicitta. This will eventually take you from the gati, take you along this journey. Gati gati, paragati, parasamgati, bodhisvaha. Then eventually it will cleanse all the mental defilements from your mind, and then your mind becomes non-dual with the Buddha's mind. In other words, you become Buddha, and then you are least affected, you are free from miseries, and you have the capacity to benefit all such amazing. So now slowly transform this beautiful mind of bodhicitta into a spotlessly clean white moon disk. 1 inch or 2 inches in diameter. The moon disk horizontally at your heart. Okay, it's amazing that you made such a courageous commitment to become Buddha for sentient beings. But how can you say that you can become a Buddha? Say, a handful of sand. How a handful of sand, if you squeeze it, no oil will come out of that. But a handful of sunflower seeds, when you squeeze it, the oil will come out of that. How can we say that you, with effort, like squeezing the handful of sand or a handful of sunflower seeds, how can you say that the Buddhahood, the oil-like Buddhahood will come out of that? Yes, that's true. So in my case, I'm not like a handful of sand, I'm more like a handful of the sunflower seeds. How do you know that? Why did you not become a Buddha? Why did you not become a Buddha since time immemorial till now? Now how can you say that you're going to become Buddha now? Yes. So far, I was totally deceived by the 2 demons in my mind. Self-grasping, ignorance, self-centered attitude. Now, for the first time, I discovered that as long as I'm under the sway of these 2 demons, my mind will forever remain defiled by the stains. Now today, I'm disillusioned by the 2 demons. I will never ever befriend these 2 demons anymore. I will simply give a damn. I will simply exterminate the 2 demons from me. Then all my mental defilements will be cleansed, and I'll become Buddha for the benefit of the sentient beings. But how am I going to exterminate the 2 demons? The 2 demons, they take the form of the self-grasping, ignorance, self-centered attitude. In other words, the ignorance and the subtle stains. So how can you eradicate this ignorance and the subtle stains? By resorting to the wisdom. Which wisdom? The wisdom of emptiness. Okay, let us quickly meditate on the wisdom of emptiness. And some of you may be new. It doesn't matter. It's so auspicious for us that this emptiness, concept of emptiness, the wisdom of emptiness, which the monastic scholars, they spend like 10, 20, 30 years on this, and then, so it is like planting the first seed of the wisdom of emptiness in us, for those people who are beginners. So okay, let us meditate on the wisdom of emptiness. Very quickly, I'll give the instruction, and then you try to the best you can, try to follow the instruction. So what we're going to do is just the very, very surface, the facade, of the initial facade of the wisdom of emptiness. By no means is going to be closed, but for those of us here who are already exposed to the wisdom of emptiness, the same instruction can be can take you to a very profound experience. But for the beginners, of course, we can expect this to be as profound. It still is so precious, because this is the initial gate towards experiencing the real wisdom of emptiness eventually. Okay. What are you doing? I'm meditating. And who is that person meditating? I. How does this I appear to you? Like a dream? Like a movie being projected by the movie projector? A movie on the screen? In actuality coming from the projector, not from the screen? So, if something comes from the projector, this is known as subjective existence. It's come from the screen, this is known as objective existence. We know that the movie that is projected by the projector is all coming from the projector, the subject line projector, not from the object. So it is empty of the objective existence, empty from the object. Those of us here who are new, don't worry. Try as much to follow instruction. If you cannot, try your best, and even that part will help us greatly to implant the seed of the wisdom of emptiness. Okay, so likewise this self, who's meditating, whether you're a girl, whether you're a boy, this person who's meditating, is he or she like a movie being projected by the movie projector? Or is something very solidly there from the object, whether it's objectively real or subjectively real? Of course, it's objectively real. It's not coming from the projector like the mind. It's also solidly there. This is known as self-grasping ignorance. Seeing the self as so objectively, solidly there, this is known as self-grasping ignorance. This is the one which is responsible for creating all the miseries on us, turbulence of the emotions, this sadness, sickness, aging, death, depression, tension, anxiety, all are created by this self-grasping ignorance. But how do we know that this is ignorance? How do we know that? How can we say that this is not this doesn't reflect reality? Okay, don't start with the blind faith. This is what the Buddha said, but we have to subject this to analysis. As the Buddha indicated, the bhikshus and wise people, just as the goldsmith tests the purity of the gold by cutting, rubbing and burning, you should also examine my words and put them to practice, not simply because you respect me. This is the strength, this is the beauty and the strength of the Buddha's teachings, where the Buddha himself advised people, encouraged people to subject his teachings to analysis, not to take them blindly. So with this spirit, we will undertake this analysis to see whether this I exists objectively or subjectively. In other words, whether this I is like a solid self or like a dream object, like a dream coming from your mind. Okay, now, if it is not like a dream, if it exists from the object, the closer we go towards the object, we should be able to see that. Remember what Arjuna said, if the mirage were to be water, why not those close by the mirage see water? Let me repeat it. If the mirage were to be water, why not those close by the mirage see water? In a like manner, if this self, if this I, this girl, or this boy would exist objectively, why not I see this self as I go closer to this object? Okay, now let's go closer to this object. By going closer to the object, if it disappears, which means that earlier what you saw was just all coming from the subject, from your mind, nothing from the object. The object is empty. Okay, now let's go closer to the object. Going closer to the object, first we see the very thin layer of the skin. This is not me, 100%. You're only interested to look for the self from the object. Anything which is non-self, not the person, not the I, remove that. Okay, the thin skin, this is not me, remove that. Underneath that, I see the fatty tissues, that's also not me, remove that. Underneath that, the muscles, cartilages, blood vessels, the bones, skeleton, the bones, the bone marrow and so forth. None of these is me. Heart, the lungs, the liver, the pancreas, gallbladder and so forth. None of these visceral organs also me. Remove them. Okay, now I see that all the solid part within my body, none of this is a self. This is known as the element of earth, solid part. Element of earth is not me. Remove that. Now next, element of water, the blood, which is pumped in and out by the heart and different parts of the body. That is also not 100%, that is not me. Remove that. Next, the element of fire, the body heat. Of course, it's not me. People from distance, they cannot see my body heat, but they can see me, which means the body's heat is not me. Remove that. Now the element of air, air which I breathe in and out by my lungs, that's also not me. Remove them. Element of space, I am made of millions and billions of atoms, and atoms are made of electrons, protons, neutrons. In between, vast expanse of space between the electrons and protons. So essentially, we are made of the vacuum. We are made of vacuum, and of course, the vacuum, this element space, is not me. I'm a solid person. Space, vacuum, and nature. These two are mutually contradictory. So that can't be me. Remove that. And finally, element of consciousness. Even this consciousness, even this mind is also not me. I'm a male, I'm a female. My mind doesn't have a gender. Gender is posited on the basis of the body. So this mind It's not me. Because it does not have a gender, it is not a male or female, whereas I'm a male, I'm a female. So therefore, this mind is also not me. And others can see me, they cannot see my mind. So from all these reasons we see that even this element of mind, element of consciousness is also not me. Remove that. What is left? Nothing is left there. It is like mirage, chasing after the mirage, believing the mirage to be the water, chasing after this, and in the end you see that nothing is really there. What is not there? The mirage disappears. Likewise, the self disappears. Okay. Stay here. Remove the 6 elements, and what is left? Nothing is left there. Abide in this experience for a while. Now bring back the 6 elements. Element of earth, water, fire, air, space, and consciousness. These 6 elements, they are totally independent of each other, like 6 different people. There's no one common phenomena, common factor that binds the 6 objects. It is like 6 independent people, they are bound by the rope. Likewise, by the factor of the karma, these 6 elements within us, they are bound together, and then we got a false appearance as a person, this boy or this girl. So when we explore to go closer to this object, the self disappears. Okay, now what are you saying? I'm just saying the 6 elements. Where is this person? Where is this girl? Where is this boy? Disappears, it's empty. Stay there. Stay there, that this person is empty. Stay there. Grasp that experience and stay there. Abide in this experience. Okay, so this, in a loose sense, is known as the wisdom of emptiness. So in this experience, what happens? This self dissolves. Likewise, you subject this sickness, aging, death, miseries, tension, fear, depression, anxiety, all these undesirable experiences, you subject them to the same analysis, they will all likewise disappear. When they disappear in this analysis with a refined, very systematic, refined analysis, these miseries, they dissolve. Instantly you feel the lightness of your mind, you feel that you are freed from these miseries and the tension. You feel the lightness which you never experienced before in your life. And perhaps in some cases, goosebumps can come in your body. In some cases, a tingling sensation can come to your body. In some cases, a profound peace can come to you. So should any of these things happen to you, you are very fortunate, and it is time for you to take deeper into this analysis and practice. Okay, so this wisdom of emptiness, we are very fortunate, although it may be very superficial at the moment, it doesn't matter. So this experience, imagine that it transforms into a very beautiful, spotlessly clean, white vajra, thumb-sized white vajra, vertically sitting on the moon desire of heart. Okay. Now the moon disk, which is also known as a conventional bodhicitta, which wishes, may I become Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. So this is the final remedy to overcome this self-centered attitude. And a vajra symbolizing the ultimate bodhicitta, this is the final remedy to overcome the self-grasping ignorance. So when these 2 demons within us are exterminated, your mind is totally freed of all the vulnerabilities, all the pains, anxieties, fears, and so forth. You are forever released from the ensnarement of samsara. This is known as the total freedom. This is not an enlightenment. Amazing, you are so fortunate. Now with a tremendous love and affection towards your 2 parents and all sentient beings, this love and affection should invoke the set of the Vajra moon that you visualize in your heart to multiply infinite number of times. When you visually do that, multiply this Vajra moon within your heart, multiply infinite number of times. And share one set with your mother at her heart, one set with your father at his heart, one set with each one of your family members, each one in Bangalore, each one in the entire universe. Okay, this is your greatest gift to all the dear sentient beings, and today you did it. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Okay, Meanwhile, don't forget that all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they are watching us. They are so happy, so proud. It is like, say, for them it is like, say, the mother, the son, eldest son or the eldest daughter, being so naughty in school. Every time there's complaint coming from the school principal, school headmaster, teachers to the mother. So the mother is so fed up with listening to all the complaints about your eldest daughter, eldest son. But today, the school principal and accompanied by the other staff, they come to the mother, and the mother again becomes a little anxious, again what the son or the daughter might have done. Today is very different. The school principal comes with a smiling face, and the first thing that she tells you, the school principal tells you as the mother, is that congratulations, and you are perplexed. Why congratulations? Congratulate over your daughter, your son, being appointed as the best student of the year of the school. Your mother could not believe this. Mother is so happy, so proud. Of all these many years, bringing only embarrassment to the mother. And today, the mother was lifted to such a height of joy and pride by you, as the eldest daughter or the eldest son. This is exactly what happens to all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas. Since time immemorial till today, we only bring embarrassments. We've been doing only bad things, bringing embarrassments to the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas. Today we have generated this bodhicitta. Today we have generated this conventional bodhicitta, ultimate bodhicitta. So this is the greatest, the joy, the gift for your Buddhas, Bodhisattvas. And today you did it. So Buddhas, Bodhisattvas are so happy, so proud of you. This pride and happiness Buddhas, Bodhisattvas feel invokes the Vajra moon that they have in the heart, the two bodhisattvas within them in the full form, full blossomed version, to multiply infinite number of times. And in mirages like rain shower, the replicas of the Vajra moon from the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, they descend like rain shower to merge with the one that you visualize in your heart, to become merged, become non-dual, stabilized and blessed. Likewise, the same thing happens in mirages. The Vajra moon from the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, like rain shower, they descend and merge with the one that you visualize in the heart of your mother, heart of your father, heart of each one of your family members, each one of the beings in Bangalore, each one of the beings in this world, each one of the beings in the entire universe. Okay, now with this mind, let's turn to page 9. Okay, this practice is so precious, and particularly what I would say is, I would encourage all of us, if possible, to do this on a daily basis. And you may need more clear instruction. For clear instructions, I would suggest you to go to www.bodhiwisdom.org, bodhiwisdom.org. And in fact, in this book also is there. In this book also, the instruction is there. In this book, page 22. In this book, page 22. And the detailed version of the instruction, this book, the blue book, page 22. This is known as the Generating the Mind of Consummate Yoga. Generating the Mind of Consummate Yoga is on page 22. Page 22 till page 28. Page 22 till page 28. This is there. Okay, and then for the actual oral instruction, you can get it from www.bodhiwisdom.org. Bodhi, B-O-D-H-I, bodhiwisdom.org. Okay. Now what we do is that as a precursor to the meditation, the Mahamudra meditation, Mahamudra practice, we will do 5 minutes meditation, and 5 minutes breathing meditation. 5 minutes breathing meditation as a precursor to the, because if we don't know how to do this practice, if we can't interrupt it, we will know this is easy, but the actual practice is difficult, right? To know it is one thing, and to actually do it is different. So once we know how to do the practice, and when you actually do it, and if you're successful, then you are ready for the Mahamudra practice, right? And of course there are additional factors. Okay, one thing that I would suggest is that this practice must be, you must have some expertise in this practice which you're going to do. Very simple breathing meditation, one. Number two is a little bit of knowledge and experience of the Buddhist psychology. Buddhist psychology, there's a separate study that would be extremely helpful for us to understand how the mind works. Number two. Then number three, about the wisdom of emptiness. What is the wisdom of emptiness? Emptiness concept. These three things. With these three things intact, then you are entitled to the actual meditation on Mahamudra, right? So whereas when these three things are not there, then you are not ready. You are not ready. It doesn't mean that then you cannot do anything. You're hopeless. This is not the connotation. The connotation is that we have to prepare ourselves with these three things. The first one is the breathing meditation, the breathing meditation method. Number two is the Buddhist psychology. Number three is the wisdom of emptiness. So these three things must be there in order for us to be able to practice the Mahamudra, the instruction. Okay, yet there's no harm in us learning this method of the Mahamudra practice. You getting it? Okay. For that matter, the first thing that we need to do is the meditation on the breathing meditation. We will do that for 5 minutes, and I'll give a quick instruction. It involves 4 things. This breathing meditation involves 4 things to keep in mind. First point is the body posture. Number 2 is focal point. What are you going to meditate on? Focal point. Number 3 is identifying the errors of meditation. Number 4, applying the remedies to overcome the errors. Okay, let me repeat it. Let me repeat the 4 points. 1, the body posture. Body posture. Number 2, focal point. What are you going to meditate on? The focal point. What are you going to meditate on? The focal point. Number 2. Number 3, identifying the errors of meditation. What potential errors can be there? What potential errors can be there in the meditation? This number what? 3. And number 4, applying the remedies to overcome the errors. Applying the remedies to overcome the errors. These 4 points we must keep in mind. Particularly point number 3 and 4 for any meditation. You want to do Hindu meditation, you want to do Christian meditation, you want to do, say, Jain meditation or Islamic meditation, or you want to do the Goenkaji's, the Vipassana meditation, or say Chinese Zen meditation, the Nalanda Buddhist meditation, Theravada meditation, you name any. You want to do any kind of meditation. Point number 3, point number 1. Point number 1, point number 3, point number 4. These 3 things you must, whatever is being described here, this rightly suits with any kind of meditation. If you miss any of these, point number 1, 3, 4, and point number 2, it depends. Point number 2 depends depending on what kind of meditation that you're doing, right? So point number 1, 3, 4 is applicable to all forms of meditations. Meditations of any tradition. Any religious tradition within Buddhism, Theravada, Mahayana, Zen Buddhism, Goenkaji's meditation. All meditations, point number 1, 3, 4, they are applicable. Okay, so this is so important. Okay, first, the body posture. body posture, one is sitting cross-legged, and particularly, as I said earlier, if you are to sit for, if you are to practice, if you are to be a long-term practitioner, if you want to, actually practice meditation for a longer period of time, then you must learn how to do the cross-legged position. This is where it is like how the Buddha sits, Buddha's position, where the left foot will go on the right thigh and the right foot will go on the left thigh. So this is the position, and particularly if you are to sit for like retreats where this position will be of great help to maintain alertness of your mind. Oftentimes there is a tendency for us when we do meditation, we tend to become lax, we tend to become heavy, and we tend to become sleepy, lethargic, right? So to avoid that, this position will be of extremely great benefit. One. Number two, which is, and yet, this we cannot expect to do it right away, right? So when you start doing this, you may start feeling the pain. The moment you start feeling the pain, release it. When the pain goes away, again bring it back. Then slowly you will get habituated and the pain will disappear, and you can sit in this position for like 3 hours in stretch. One. Number two, body upright. This is so important. Yesterday we did discuss this. Body upright. This is so important. Right? If you have a backache problem, you're exempted. You can lean against the support. Otherwise, right, sit upright. And if you have knee problem, you cannot sit on the floor. You can sit on the chair, no problem. Right? But if you can sit on the floor comfortably, that is best. Whereas if you have knee problem, don't force yourself. Knee problem, hip problem, you have to sit in chair, you must sit in chair. Finally, your body is not going to meditate, your mind is going to meditate. Right? If your body is in pain, and then your mind cannot focus on the meditation. Okay, one. So the body should be upright. Upright, yet it should not be stiff, it should be flexible. This is so important, right? The body must be upright. Oftentimes, people sit, the body bent like this. This is a very bad sitting posture. Always try to make it a habit to sit upright, right? And while you're not meditating, and still you just make it a habit to sit upright. So there, if you feel a little pain, then you can lean against a support, but still keep the body upright. This is very important. When the body is upright, you could feel the difference in the clarity of your mind, the freshness of your mind. You can see the difference. Okay, then your head tilted forward a little bit. Tilted forward a little bit. And your eyes, this is so important. Your eyes not closed. Eyes half open. Eyes half open. 45 degrees cast down. Then the tip of the tongue should touch the upper palate. Tip of the tongue should touch the upper palate to avoid excessive accumulation of saliva in mouth. To avoid accumulation of excessive saliva in your mouth, right? Touch the tip of the tongue to the palate. Then the teeth and the lips, keep them in their natural course. Breathe naturally. Don't force your breath. Don't control your breath. Don't impose your breath. Let the breath flow naturally. Okay. And your right hand on your left hand, tips of two thumbs standing and joining. Tips of two thumbs standing and joining. Place them on your laps in a restful state, in a relaxed state. Breathe naturally. Okay, this is the body posture. This is body posture. What's number two? What's number two? Focal point. What are you going to focus on? What are you going to meditate on? The focus. The focal point is you visualize a very tiny dot, tiny white dot. White dot, 1 mm or 2 mm in diameter. 1 mm or 2 mm in diameter. Tiny white dot between the nose and the upper lip. Okay, touch this spot between nose and upper lip. Touch it. Touch it. Okay, you could feel it. You could feel it. Not on the lips. Between the nose and the lips. In between. Okay. So now, what you do is that, okay, you scratch someone from behind. Scratch someone from behind, and you don't look at other person scratching you. Do it. Do it. Scratch. Okay, now Giri, you do a bit. Okay, even without looking at the other person, right? What do you feel? You feel the scratch. Is it your eye consciousness seeing it or your mental consciousness seeing it? Your mental consciousness seeing it, it's not eye consciousness. So that mind which feels the scratch, not your eye consciousness, that is known as the mental consciousness. You feel it, right? Okay, so this mental consciousness is the one which will meditate, not your eye consciousness. So now what we do is that with the dot, the white dot, 1 mm or 2 mm in diameter between nose and upper lip, this is what you should visualize, not by your eyes. Your eyes are just there, 45 degrees cast down. Your mental consciousness, which could feel the sensation anywhere else, that mental consciousness is going to visualize, is going to focus there on this spot. You're getting it? This is your focal point. Don't forget. Multitasking. Multitasking. While you focus your mind there, multitasking. Meaning, you count your breath. Simultaneously, you count your breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Cycle 1, breathe in, breathe out. Cycle 2, this is what we should be doing. 2 things happening simultaneously. Now, you see that it might be quite challenging for you. In the first place, you see that your eyes are 45 degrees cast. So first, in my case, so my eyes are right there on the flowers on the table. So my eyes are seeing the flower, 1. Number 2, it should not be actually, my eyes are there, but the mental consciousness should not be following that. Should not be chasing after my eyes. But my mental consciousness is so pampered, so naughty, so mischievous, it will not listen to you. It will just chase after the eyes. Right? One challenge. Then while that is happening, while your mind should be actually focusing here, not on the flowers, on the dot between your nose and the upper lip, you should be counting the breath. You should be counting the breath. 2 things happening together, multitasking. 2 things happening together. This is an additional challenge. Right? Yet, oftentimes people say that this is literally what we cannot do. Practically we cannot do. Initially, don't expect that you are able to do all these things. So through practice, eventually you will succeed in doing this. You will manage to do that. Okay, so that is the focal point. What is number 3? Identifying the errors of meditation. Okay, this is so important. If we could not identify the errors of meditation on this level, then the Mahamudra practice is far away, right? So we have to engage in point number 3 and point number 4. Point number 3, identifying the errors of meditation. Errors of meditation twofold. One is mental excitement, other one is the opposite of that, mental laxity. Mental excitement and mental laxity. Mental excitement meaning that your mind gets scattered here and there. Scattered here and there, while you should be focusing your mind on the dot between the nose and the lip, but your mind is scattered. Oh, I have this laundry to do, I have this shopping to do, I have this cleaning to do, I have this, what do you call it, the deadline to finish, oh, I have this. So that is scattering. That should be stopped. Number 2 is, what's the opposite of scattering? Scattering is the mind becoming overly excited, overly active. Now what is the opposite of the overly active? It becomes overly inactive. It becomes passive. So the passiveness of the mind is demonstrated in the form of lethargy. You feel your mind, you start to feel your mind very heavy, lethargic, sleepy, your mind sinking, inserviceable, and then once you are there, it becomes heavy, and then you think that you're meditating, and then your time is up, still you don't want to get up, you want to sit there, it's very pleasant. This is not a good sign. This is a very bad sign. It will become a very bad habit. Your mind is not meditating. It is in the lethargic state. It is in a lax state. So the 2 errors are mental excitement and mental laxity. These are the 2 errors. Okay, next. What is number 4?
Remedy.
Applying the remedies, applying the remedies, applying the remedies to overcome the errors. What should we do if any of these two things happen to us? This is the question. And these two things, they are bound to happen to us. If these two things don't happen, there's no need for us to meditate. So our mind already takes the form of meditation 24/7, but in actuality it is not a case. So we are bound to be under the sway of any of these two errors. If these two things happen, don't panic, don't freak. What we should do is apply the remedies. So what are the remedies? Twofold. Introspection and mindfulness. Introspection and mindfulness. Okay, oftentimes people have so this meditation, mindfulness meditation, mindfulness-based stress reduction meditation, right? So there are so many kinds of meditations with the mindfulness as the catchy word. Mindfulness meditation, mindfulness meditation. So people say this becomes quite a popular trend, but we should be very precise. What exactly does it mean by mindfulness? Oftentimes, people mix up the two things, introspection and mindfulness, mix up two things and call it as just give them a very generic label, mindfulness. This is too simplistic. This is overly simplistic. So we should know that what many of the people understand as mindfulness, this is actually very generic label given. Precisely, we have to know introspection and mindfulness. These two should not mix. These two, if you see these two not as distinct, then your meditation will not be successful. Only if you know these two things as distinct. What are the two? Introspection and mindfulness. Only if you know that these two are distinct, then your meditation will become very fruitful. Okay, what is introspection? First, let's say that you have a pet dog and you lose the pet dog. When you lost the pet dog, what do? First you go in search of the pet dog. Go in search of the pet dog. You getting it? Go in search of the pet dog. This is one phase. One phase of what you do to acquire the pet dog. You go in search of the pet dog. This is one phase. Go in search of the pet dog. You are not sure whether you're going to find it or not, but it must be done. The first phase, go in search of that. That is one first phase. Now, once you find it, what will you do? You will not continue to search. You will not continue to go. The job is done. The job of the searching is done, right? The first phase is completed. Now the second phase is tie the dog with a rope and bring it back home. Bring it back home and tie it to the pillar at your house. This second phase. So, likewise, our mind which is supposed to be meditating, this is like the dog. And this mind should be living, the focal point is like your house. So this mind goes away from the focal point. You lost the mind, you lost the dog. Now what do? First you go in search of your mind. Where's my mind now? Right? That is the introspection. That is the introspection. You go in search of the mind. What is my mind doing? Is it still on the focal point? Is it distracted? Or is it in a relaxed state? You go in search of that. That phase of the search, that is known as the introspection. Once you find this mind distracted or in a relaxed state, what do? Then you use the rope-like mindfulness. Rope-like mindfulness, bring the mind back to the intended object of the meditation. You bring it back and place it there, so which is like the pillar at your home, in your house, right? You bring it back. So that is the mindfulness. Mindfulness is to bring the mind back to the intended object of the meditation. Introspection is to search, go in search of the mind to see whether it is still meditating or it is distracted or it is in a relaxed state. So go in search of that, the being investigative, or say surveillance, that is the introspection. And mindfulness is that you already got your mind. Now your mindfulness, the job is like the rope, bring the mind back to the intended object of meditation. Okay, This is what we're going to do, right? Okay, so with that in mind, let's sit up properly. Okay, for 5 minutes. So initially there's going to be three gongs for us to indicate to start the meditation. After 5 minutes, then again another 3 gongs to indicate to start the meditation. Okay, 5 minutes, ready? a continuation from where we left yesterday. Okay, please turn to this text. I hope you all have this text. You don't have? Okay, Subhashini doesn't have a copy. Okay, don't worry too much about this. If you have it, well and good. If not, you can just share with someone else, and then later on you can make a copy of this, because this text is very precious. I may touch this text to particularly the important passages, the aspects, and otherwise I will not I will not read through the text altogether. It's going to be more, say, the compilation, a compilation of from various sources. Okay, so here it says the main part of the Victor's, the root text for the precious Geruka tradition of Mahamudra, written by the incredible great, the enlightened, great scholar plus a saint, Benjamin Lobsang Choe Jensen. Okay, so the first part, page number 1, we see that I will read only those in bold, which are the root text. Which is the root text? Namo Mahamudraya. I respectfully bow at the feet of my peerless Guru, Master of Adepts, who directly exposed the great seed of Mahamudra, all-pervasive nature of everything, the indivisible, inexpressible, and indestructible spirit of the mind. Okay, I'll quickly explain this from what we learned. Okay, just raise your hands those who were absent yesterday. Okay, so what we're going to do now, and then later I may do a little bit of review of what we did yesterday for those of you who are coming here for the first time. Okay, so it says that I respectfully bow at the feet of my peerless Guru, Master of Adepts, who directly exposed the great seed of Mahamudra. So I'm describing this Mahamudra, the course that we're doing now. Mahamudra described as all-pervasive nature of everything. All-pervasive nature of everything. Just imagine that you go into a shop to buy these statues, and there are so many kinds of statues there. Some statues say the Buddha, some statues, some flowers, some flower the sculptures, and some Jesus Christ, some Ram, some Prophet Muhammad, some demons, some Pizza, all kinds of, say, the sculptures are there, right? And then you have to buy something. And then later on you realize that all are made of diamonds. But the demons, Buddha, Pizza, everything, what is there, you find that these are all made of diamonds. Now tell me, how precious, which of the material-wise, not in terms of the sanctity, material-wise, which is more precious? The one which is the pizza is more precious, or the Buddha, or the demon, or the flower, which is more precious? Material-wise, which is more precious? All is just same. All are equally precious. Likewise, in this world, that we see in this world, we see pizza, we see good people, bad people, but the true nature of everyone is so pure. It's so pure, it's like a diamond. So it says that the nature, the all-pervasive nature of everything, the Mahamudra which we're going to learn, this is the true nature of all phenomena, good, bad, everything, right? Everything, and you'll be fascinated. For example, say you dream. You dream, and in your dream you meet with good people, you meet with bad people, right? And then you meet with say, undesirable experiences. You meet with very happy birthday celebration, right? Then you then in a dream you go to your job, and you come back. So all different experiences. Okay, tell me. You wake up. You wake up. Say, in the dream, those pleasant experiences, you long to have them for longer. Unpleasant experiences, you long not to have them longer. You long to have them shorter. You long to run away from them, right? The moment you wake up, what's the difference? You see that they are just same. They're all the nature of my mind. They were all created by my own mind. You getting it? Likewise, Mahamudra, which we're going to learn today. This is discovery, a breakthrough discovery which we're going to make of all phenomena. In actuality, like dream, they're all coming from my mind. And the true source of all phenomena is just my own mind, right? So this is what we're going to learn. So it says, the all-pervasive nature of everything, the indivisible. Indivisible meaning, because finally it's the nature of the mind. The nature of mind, you cannot separate that this is the object, this is subject. So yesterday when we talked about the flower, we said that this is the flower, this is the object, and my mind is the subject. There's a duality. There's a duality. So when you experience this Mahamudra, you see that the object and subject, the duality dissolves. Right? So say in the dream, did you ever have a dream of going to a house? How many of you had a dream of going to a house? No one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, most of us. Okay, say you go into a house, means house becomes your object. And you, the one who's going towards the house. Were you actually going towards our house or you were in a bed? Actually in a bed. But you dreamt that you were going towards the house. So, in the dream you see the duality. The house where I should be going and I who is going closer towards the house. The subject which is going towards the house as an object. There's the duality. This duality, the moment you wake up, what happens to the duality? The house dissolves and you as the walking towards the house also dissolves. You're at the bed. So that duality dissolves. You getting it? Likewise, what we are going through now, this is exactly like a dream. So dream, there are two dreams. Conventional dream and unconventional dream. What we went through last night was the conventional dream. What is happening now is the unconventional dream. From the conventional dream, we wake up, again we go into conventional dream, again we wake up. It happens so innumerable times. But an unconventional dream, thus far we never woke up from this dream. From the unconventional dream, it had been just so long, since time immemorial till today, it keeps going. We never woke up from this unconventional dream. So now this Mahamudra teaching will teach us how to wake up from this unconventional dream. Right? Once you wake up, when you wake up from the conventional dream, what happens? The subject and the object in the dream dissolves. The duality dissolves. Now when you wake up from the unconventional dream, or what is happening now, the subject, the object that we're seeing, and the subject, our mind, these two will dissolve in that experience of the waking up from the unconventional dream. So it says that the indivisibility of the object and the subject. Then inexpressible. And this experience of the Mahamudra, this experience of the ultimate reality is something which we cannot express fully in words. Is inexpressible. An indestructible sphere of the mind. This is the final thing. First, diamond. Diamond is considered as indestructible. Diamond is referred to as, although we can destroy this, but it is referred to as so hard that it cannot be destroyed. And this ultimate reality of the mind, the Mahamudra of the mind, this is something which cannot be destroyed by anything. That is the indestructible reality of the mind. Okay, this is what we are the learning today. And then it says, I shall now write down instructions on Mahamudra coming from the Kagyu tradition of the Supreme Adept spiritual children. Instead of sons, it should be spiritual children. Because the sons, in Tibetan, this is pu. Children is pu. Right? Pu is the word for sons as well as for the child. It does not, for example, oftentimes in the Heart Sutra, people translate it as the son of the lineage, not the child of the lineage. This is wrong. This is wrong translation. It should be child of the lineage, because either the translator does not know Tibetan perfectly well, right? So it's so confined. So Riki Pu. Pu has a connotation po. Pu and Pu Mo. Again Pu. Right? Pu has a connotation of the males as well as females. It's more like the common, the generic label for the males and females is the child. So it should be like it is the Dharma Vajra and his spiritual children. A tradition of excellent instructions, having gathered the essence of the ocean of sutras, tantras and oral instructions. And regarding this, there are three outlines: preliminaries, actual practice and conclusion. Okay. In order to have a doorway of entering into the Dharma and the central pillar for the Mahayana, sincerely go for refuge and general bodhicitta without these being merely words from a mouth. So, for the practice of the Mahamudra, general bodhicitta, so the refuge, going for refuge, bodhicitta which we did this morning, so that is extremely important. Without that, simply by doing the meditation the way we're going to learn, then it becomes just like the same game. Whereas if you take it very seriously with the refuge and bodhicitta preceding your practice, then this is going to be immense benefit for you. You will see the immense benefit and the growth of your experience. Okay, so with this in mind, okay, now a continuation from where we left yesterday. So what we were discussing yesterday was that finally, we all have the capacity to become perfect. We all have the capacity to become fully enlightened being. So that capacity that we have is known as the Buddha nature. When Buddha, this word Buddha should not be confined to Buddhism. Buddha means the awakened one. Awakened one. Anyone can be awakened. Anyone following, anyone, whether a girl, boy, or say the Tibetan, the Indian, Britishers, or the non-Tibetans, anyone can become a Buddha. Anyone can become enlightened. Anyone can become awakened, right? So anyone who is awakened is known as the Buddha. It's not that the founder of the Buddhism is known as the Buddha. This is not a connotation. Buddha, by the very label, it means the awakened one, fully awakened one. Okay, with that in mind, we all have that capacity to be awakened. Once we are awakened, tell me, say, you dream, you had a nightmare in your dream. You had a nightmare in your dream. Then, right, and particularly a ghost chasing you or a robber chasing you in the dream, and you are running for your life. And then you fell. Then what happens? What happens to your fear? The fear aggregates, and the ghost or the robber is about to catch you. And then what is your feeling? Now I'm gone, right? So when you say, now I'm gone, then your mother wakes you up. What do you feel? What do you feel? What a relief. You're getting it? What a relief. Okay. So now we see that when you are awakened by your mother, the nightmare of your dream stops. The nightmare of your dream stops. Likewise, when we awake, when we are awakened from the sleep of samsara, completely, then the nightmare of samsara stops. All the sickness, aging, death, miseries, tension, the anxiety, everything will dissolve. Right? Okay, at that point, you are known as the Buddha. You are known as the fully awakened one. Okay, we all have that capacity. If we have this capacity, the next question is, how can we then activate this capacity? How can we activate the capacity? So yesterday what we learned was that to know how to activate this capacity, so we have to know what obstructs this capacity in the first place. What obstructs this capacity in the first place. So, yesterday we learned that what obstructs us in the capacity, this is known as the obscurations. For example, the gold, when mixed with the soil in the ore, you don't see the gold. You don't see anything glowing. In the eyes of ordinary people, this is to be dumped. But in the eyes of the gold experts, no, this is so precious. This gold there. And how do you know that there's gold there? They will first remove the dirt, remove the soil. As the soil is removed, then what is inside will slowly start to glow. Right? From there we come to know that there's a gold inside. Likewise, each one of us, we have the goals like Buddha nature. Whether you're Buddhist, non-Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, it doesn't matter. We all have that, the seed of perfection within us. We all have, including the animals, including tiny insects. We all have this capacity to become fully awakened. Now, what obstructs that? What obstructs that? What obstructs the gold from glowing is the soil. Likewise, what obstructs the mind from becoming awakened by the mental defilements. So this mental defilement, we come to learn that there are two, the gross and the subtle. The gross one is known as afflictive obscurations, imitative, afflictive obscurations, and the subtle one is known as shitiv, shitiv, cognitive obscurations. The gross and the subtle. The gross one, we see that it is in the form of the contaminated physical, verbal, and mental actions, contaminated actions, which in turn are triggered by the afflictions. Okay, gross defilements is consisted of three parts, consider three. One, the contaminated actions, physical, verbal, and mental contaminated actions. One. Number two is afflictions. Afflictions meaning disturbing emotions, inside, attachment, anger, jealousy, competitiveness, spite, and so forth. These are afflictive emotions. Now, what made us behave in a very cruel way, harming others and so forth? Because of the negative emotions inside. These negative emotions of anger, they will drive us to behave in a very cruel way towards others. So these actions are drawn by the afflictions. Number two is the afflictions, disturbing emotions. Number three is known as the active seeds. Active seeds of the contaminated karmas and the afflictions. Active seeds. Active seeds meaning, while you are here in Choe, while we are here in Choe, everyone is peaceful, right? As well, like everyone is like a Buddha, there's no anger, right? The moment we go out, and then we try to get a cab, and the taxi driver charge you more, overcharge you, then what happens? Anger bursts, anger erupts, right? So, while in Choe there was no trace of anger, there's no anger visible. But the moment we go out and somebody abuses you, then the anger erupts. So, where was this anger? Where was this anger when you were in Choe? So, it was not in a manifest anger, it was in the form of a seed, active seed. Seed which has the capacity to germinate into a full-blossomed anger, right? So that seed is known as active seed. So the afflictive obscurations is of three kinds: contaminated karmas, afflictions, and active seeds of contaminated karmas and the afflictions, right? Okay. Now all these three things, the fabric of all these three things, meaning that what gives rise to all these three things is self-grasping ignorance, right? Okay, so slowly what we need to do is that all of us, we must. It doesn't mean that by studying this text, by coming to Choe or something, we're already very pure, right? No. Because that we have limitations, we have mistakes, we have errors, we are still in samsara. But coming to Choe Sumling, this is our attempt, we are making the attempt to come out of this. Even that is so precious. One, to have the Choe Sumling in the first place. Number two, you coming in contact with Choe Sumling, number two. Number three, your wish to come to Choe Sumling, make use of Choe Sumling. All these these are so precious. This is the hope that we can come out of this samsara, right? Okay, now let's see that all these, say, contaminated actions, the negative emotions, and so forth, they're all rooted to the self-grasping ignorance. Now what we do is that by coming to Choe, then when Buddha is there, then say when the Geshe Namdal is there, Geshe Neksola, then other teachers, so many teachers that will give. Kansara which is also coming here. So we make the most of these teachers so that we can conviction. Yesterday this was what we emphasized so much, that we can conviction that yes, all my problems, all the problems, including, say for example, say you have to wait for a car, and the car is expired. Now you use mostly Ola. By using Ola, it says that 5 minutes, and it says 2 minutes. Then it extends to 10 minutes. Then you become upset, right? Upset. When you feel upset, are you happy? You're not happy. Even this little unhappiness that comes to you, that at the base is the self-grasping ignorance and self-centered attitude. This, if we don't realize this happiness will proliferate. Unhappiness will proliferate. If you realize this unhappiness will dissolve. It's amazing. If you realize that, finally this problem, even this uneasiness, even if somebody, it's not your mistake, somebody else's mistake, somebody else's unnecessarily, for no reason, baselessly abuses you. And then you feel uncomfortable, right? Uncomfortable. If the same thing happened to the Buddha also, the same thing happened, baselessly, people come to abuse the Buddha, right? And say, there are two people coming, one turning towards the Buddha, one turning towards you, and start to abuse you, the Buddha and you both simultaneously. Tell me, okay, what happened? Both Buddha and you were abused by other people. From that point of view, it's the same. But what's the difference? You are affected and the Buddha is not affected. Right? What do you want? You want affected? You want to be affected with anger, with unhappiness? Or you don't want to be affected, your peace of mind is intact, is maintained. Which do you want? We want our peace of mind to be maintained. In other words, what we want is, I want to remain as peaceful as what I was before this abuse came, right? For the Buddha, it happened. For us, it is not. So we are easily affected by external factors. You're getting it? We are easily affected by external factors, which means that we are weak. We are weak. Somebody, right? Say you have a broken arm. Then you are in, what do you call it? Plaster? Huh? Cast. You are in cast. And your friend has a very strong arms, right? So two of you go into the crowd. Who's going to be affected? Who's going to be affected? Tell me. The one with the broken arm or without the broken arm?
Broken arm.
With the broken arm. So he or she is vulnerable. You're getting it? Whereas the other person is not vulnerable. It's not a difference. In fact, for the other person, going to the count is a fun. For you, it's not a fun. It's very risky, right? So therefore, who is vulnerable? You're going to the same situation, but one is affected and one is not affected. For the Buddhas, it's not affected. For you, it is affected, which means that we are vulnerable. Now, anything that you do to remove this vulnerability is known as dharma. Any practice that you do to remove our vulnerability is known as dharma. You getting it? Okay. So with that mind, we see that all these same, the undesirable experiences, finally at the ground is the ignorance. At the ground is the ignorance. Ignorance is the fabric of all these miseries, of all these afflictions, of all these contaminated karmas. Ignorance is at the root. Ignorance and the subtle stains of the ignorance. Subtle stains of the ignorance. Now, if you want to be free from the vulnerability, where you are not going to be affected by any external factors, if you want to achieve that state, what should we do? Don't forget this example. sound of a clap, right? So this sound of a clap should necessarily come into being by the combination of the two hands. You agree with me or not? Okay, let's say abuser comes. Abuser comes and the person abuses you. That is external factor, one hand. And you are there. And your self-grasping, ignorant, self-centered attitude is also there. Right? Then two things meet and the sound invariably arises. So whereas, even though the external factor is there, one hand is there, if you pull down other hand, no sound. However strong the external factor, the sound stops. Likewise, through practice, external factors, there are millions and trillions. There are millions and trillions. We cannot expect to remove the external factors altogether. But our mind is so vicious. Our mind, whenever there's a problem, we never point a finger towards the internal factor, two hands. Of the two hands, we always say that this hand. We never point to this hand. Both are responsible. Both are responsible. But we never point a finger, blame towards this hand. We blame to the other hand all the time. External, that person, this climate, this metro, not metro what? The traffic, right? And Bangalore traffic. So we always blame outside. We never point to inside. While the reality is that, don't say that everything is inside. Don't say that. We have to be realistic. If you don't act realistically, the problem is that at one point you will give up. Whereas if you are very realistic, you will never give up. You become stronger, stronger and stronger. If you're not realistic, say that, oh no, the world is so good, it is my problem, I'm bad, inside is just me, just me, just me. At one point, you cannot bear it anymore. And who told me that it's always me all the time? And I'm suffering more and more. Before I come to Choe, I'm okay. Come to Choe, I learned it's me. So now I'm suffering more and more and more. Right? This is because of you being very unrealistic. We have to admit the reality. In the first place, we have to admit the reality that external factor is responsible, internal factor is also responsible. Both are responsible. It's not just internal. We have to admit this reality. Because if say your neighbor is nice, you're happy. If your neighbor is just every Sunday playing very loud music early morning like 5 o'clock, then Sunday is the only time that you can have a more sound sleep. And then even that is disrupted because of this loud music from the neighbor. Whereas the neighbor is a very kind, sensitive person, right? Then you can have a sound sleep. You can have a sound rest. Okay, so external factors do make a difference. We have to acknowledge that. External factors are responsible for our problems. But don't forget the internal factors also. It's like the sound of a clap. Sound of a clap, right? Both hands are involved. Now with this, what we learn is that external factors are responsible. So why should I always turn towards the internal factor? Why? Right? If the external factors are also there, yes. The point is not to remove the external factor or the internal factor. This is not the matter. The matter is that I don't want suffering. You agree with me or not? You agree with me or not? The matter is that I don't want suffering. I want happiness. The point is, as long as you can get what you want, that matters. So if by removing the external factors, you can get that happiness, go for it. If by removing the internal factors, you can get that happiness, go for it. Right? And practically speaking, external factors, how many external factors are there? 1, 10, 20, 100, million, trillions, how many? Infinite. Infinite, this is reality. And those external factors which are actually good, even they can turn as adverse factors. Right? For example, say, if you're by yourself, you'll say that, I'm lonely. If you're by yourself, you'll say that, I'm lonely. If you're with other people, you say that, I have no privacy. Right? So, what should be the external factor now? Should it be by yourself or should it be with other people? What you want? In both cases there's a problem. In both cases, right? So therefore external factors, there are innumerable external factors which can contribute to our pains. Number two, even what is considered to be good, even the other factors, even they can create problems on us. So therefore, external factors, it's impossible that we can eradicate all the external factors. But what you don't want is, you may say, oh, I don't want this neighbor, I don't want this, the climate, I don't want this place, so forth. If you keep doing like this, you will never come to accomplish what you want. So whereas, finally, it's not the neighbor, it's not the climate, it's not the traffic. Finally, what you want is your happiness. What you don't want is your misery, the miseries. As long as the misery comes to an end and your happiness restored 100%, that is what you're looking for. So whether it's by remove the external factor or remove the internal factor, whichever way you do, and if the goal is accomplished, go for it. And practically speaking, to remove the external factors completely is impossible. Whereas to remove the internal factors completely is very much possible. Right? Okay, let's say the two hands like this, you remove the left hand and the right hand, however strong, external factors, however strong, no sound. Sound stops. Sound of the misery stops. This is what we are looking for. Now the question is, wise people, while they admit that external factors are there, their effort will be invested to eradicate the internal factors. This is the wise people. How can you look for someone who's wise and unwise? Unwise are those people who always go to remove the external factors. Right? You go to say, oh, India, I'm not happy, I will go to America, you go to America. Oh, America, again there's a racist, this problem, that problem, so I want to go to Australia. You go to Australia. Again there's this problem, then you go to Nigeria. Again there's a problem, you go to Nepal. Again there's a problem. No external factor, no external country can give you a genuine happiness. Because you think you could not see to the internal thing. You're always giving the internal hand. Internal hand you're always giving. And the external hand, even a small thing can trigger the spark of the miseries, right? So you are never happy because the external factors will never come to an end. Okay, so for that matter, internal factor. Now the internal factor, we come to know that yesterday, we see that it is finally, what is internal factor? Self-grasping ignorance and self-centered attitude. Self-grasping ignorance means, in Tibetan, Dangzi Marikpa. Self-grasping ignorance, Dangzi Marikpa. Self-centered attitude, Rang Chenjin. Dangzi Marikpa, Rang Chenjin. Dangzi Marikpa, sometimes His Holiness that also uses Timu Dangzin. Timu Dangzin, Dangzi Marikpa, these two are same, Tibetan. Timu Dangzin, Dangzi Marikpa. Other one is the Rang Chenjin, self-centered attitude. Self-grasping ignorance, self-centered attitudes. Since that I'm not going to go into so much detail into this, the distinction between the two, I would suggest all of us to at least try to learn the distinction between these two things. These two are not one. These two are different. Right? You must learn the distinction and then on that basis look for the separate remedies to overcome each of them. Okay, to give you an analogy, self-grasping ignorance is the one. Okay, first let me give you an analogy. Okay, now I have to explain it. Okay, let's say self-grasping ignorance is the ignorance which distorts the reality. Which distorts the reality. Say that, okay, this is a golden flower. It is actually not a golden flower, it's a simple flower. It's a simple flower, but then your mind distorts, the ignorance distorts it to see this as a flower made of gold. Oh, this is a golden flower, a flower made of gold. Right? Okay, tell me. You know this, what this flower is, but then if somebody says that, oh, there's a gold, he's holding gold, he's holding a flower made of gold. Is this ignorance or this is a valid mind? Ignorance. Okay, now tell me, how is this ignorance? How is this ignorance? Because it distorts the reality. While the reality is that it's a simple flower, it distorts the reality of the simple flower to be a flower made of gold. You getting it? This is ignorance. Now, some people, they hate gold. Some people, they are infatuated with gold. They crazy out the gold. Some people, they hate gold. So they are person A and B. Okay, is there anyone who is not so interested in gold? Raise your hands. Wow, something is amazing. Okay, is there anyone who says that, but we should be very realistic? Gold is something expensive. If you have enough of them, then you can go into charity. You can do lots of good things. Okay, so gold is good. How many of you say this? Okay, how many say that gold? I'm totally fed up with gold. How many say this? Okay, let's say there are two categories. One who dislikes gold and the other one who likes gold. There are two. Right? Now I show this. I show this. And both of you see this as a flower made of gold. Right? Okay. Both of you, do you have the distortion or not? No distortion. Both of you distort the reality. You agree with me? Both of you have the ignorance distorting the reality. But simply by distorting the reality, simply by having the ignorance, doesn't mean that you will go to cling to it. Ignorance doesn't mean that you will go to cling to it. One person says, go, this is the one which creates all the problem between the families. Right? Between the brothers, between the sisters. Right? The parents, the jewelry is left, and the brothers fight over the properties. The sisters fight over the properties, and they don't talk to each other for life. All these problems arise because of the properties, right? Okay. Now, this is the cause of the problem. So therefore you are averse to this. Averse to the gold, flower made of gold. And others, oh, gold. He's actually kind. If we ask him, he will give it to us. Geshe, would you mind giving this to us? Which means that your mind craves after the object. You getting it? One is averse to the flower. One craves after the flower. One is neutral. Okay, gold. What's the difference? Finally, they are made of electrons, protons, neutrons. They are all the same. Right? There's no difference. One is neutral. One is after the object. One is averse to the object. There are three reactions. While all three are mistaken in seeing this flower as made of gold. You getting it? Ignorance is there. Ignorance does not guarantee you that you will have attachment to this, or you will have aversion to this, you will have the neutral feeling towards this. Okay. Now, with this ignorance, what happens? I am very important and this is very expensive. I want it. Right? So this craving comes into play. Ignorance plus self-centered attitude. This flower made of gold must go to me, not others. Must go to me. Self-centered attitude. Self-grasping ignorance distorts the reality. Self-centered attitude will bring it to the self. That is the self-centered attitude. What is garbage? You will throw this to others. This will go to others, not me. My house should be clean. Right? For example, say we clean the house, and the dirts, you remove it on the street. This is for others, not for me. My house should be clean. Which you don't like, you leave it to others. Which you like, this should be not by others, this should be for me. So this, because of this self-centered attitude. So self-grasping ignorance is which distorts the reality. So in the dream, say you are so fond of flowers. In the dream, somebody brings the flower. Is that a real flower or dream flower? Dream flower, right? But in a dream, you see that as real flower. Seeing the dream flower as real flower, is this distortion reality or this is the valid mind? Distortion reality. Now with the distortion, I like flowers. I like flowers. This I is so important, self-centered attitude. I should have this flower. I want it. So self-grasping ignorance, it distorts the flower, the dream flower as real flower. As simple as that. Then self-centered attitude will cling to it, will make it to cling to it or push away from it. So this action is given by the self-centered attitude, which is the platform which is created by the self-grasping ignorance. Self-grasping ignorance creates the drama. Magician creates the beautiful flowers, and we think that this real flower, they would grab it. So for that, two things should happen. Yes, no? Two things. One is, magician or the dream should create the dream flower and represent as though like it is a real flower. And then your self-centered attitude will act either to grab at it or push it. So self-centered attitude is the one which acts on the basis of what is created by the self-grasping ignorance. You getting it? Self-centered attitude is the one which acts on the basis of what is created by the, falsely created by the self-grasping ignorance. Okay. So with this mind, if the self-grasping ignorance stops creating this, if you stop the self-grasping ignorance, if you stop the dream, then you will not feel attached to the dream flower as a real flower. Yes, no? Okay, so there we have to stop the creating it. We have to stop creating the self-grasping, the dream flower as a real flower. Right? So if you stop the self-grasping ignorance, then our negative emotions will stop. So for that, how to stop the self-grasping ignorance? How to stop the self-grasping ignorance?
Wisdom of Emptiness.
It is through introducing the wisdom. And self-grasping ignorance, how intense, how spontaneous is the self-grasping ignorance? Very intense and very spontaneous. For that, the wisdom that you're going to introduce must be very intense and very spontaneous. So what is that wisdom which is most intense and most spontaneous, most powerful? That is the subjective clear light when focused on the objective clear light. You getting it? So this is what we covered yesterday. Subjective clear light meaning the subtleness of the mind activated by means of what we're going to study now. The subtleness of the mind, which is also referred to as subjective clear light, that you see the subtleness of the object, which is the emptiness, which is also known as the objective clear light, right? Subtleness of the mind, which is known as subjective clear light, should see the subtleness of the object. Subtleness of the mind should see the subtleness of the mind should see the subtleness of the object. Subtleness which is known as objective clear light. Subtleness of the subject is known as subtleness of the mind is known as subjective clear light. So these two should come together. When these two things come together, then it has the power to exterminate the subtleness of the ignorance. Right? That is the meaning of you becoming fully awakened. It is for this reason that Buddha Shakyamuni is also referred to as the fully awakened one, the one who has cleansed the ignorance and the subtle states altogether. Therefore, he is referred to as the fully awakened one. Okay, we'll have tea break. Tea break for like 20 minutes.